I think this game is pretty much proof positive that a franchise can easily move between genres seamlessly. It's all a matter of your execution. Seriously, this game rocks and nobody talks about it anymore. But I mean, that's what you have me here for, right? Alright then, let's do this. Greetings everyone, this is the Maverick Hunters Sneks. Sneks? You know what, never mind. Today, I'm going to touch upon a sorely underrated title of MegaMan X Command Mission. Originally released on the GameCube and the PS2 in 2004, it took the Mega Man X series in a totally new direction, that being the direction of turn-based RPGs. And it's still one of my favorite installments of the Mega Man franchise, and I was truly, deeply disappointed that it wasn't included in the Mega Man X Legacy Collection games. So I'm here to bring more attention to this classic game that was largely overlooked even in its time. Let's get to it. Jumping in, we begin the game with Mega Man X, Zero, and the new arrival, Shadow, as they recap their orders to infiltrate Giga City. If this all seems like the game might be moving a little bit too quickly, that's because this is one of those all there in the manual moments, which I'll recap for your benefit. A meteor fell to Earth into the Pacific Ocean, carrying the first traces of this game's major plot source, the Force Metal, which conveniently also doubles as the equipment system, as pieces of Force Metal can enhance aspects of Reploids in new and wondrous ways. When discovered, the vaguely defined Federation of what left unclear, set up the artificial island and Giga City atop it. Now, Colonel Redips has sent the three Maverick Hunters in on a recon mission, in order to learn the goings-on of a political upheaval, the cleverly named Rebellion Army, under their leader, Epsilon. Thus, our game begins with our heroes entering the Lograno ruins, whereupon they find numerous capsules with records of the creation of a large group of new Reploids, all who have taken to serving Epsilon's cause to break free of control from outside forces. And just when it seems that things couldn't get any worse, Shadow betrays them, joins Epsilon, and X and Zero are separated, and thus we begin our infiltration of Giga City alone. Graphically speaking, the game looks great. It uses what looks to be a form of cell shading, giving everything really vivid colors, but it complements it with shading proper to make the style not become garish. The entire world is really stylized, as there are many new characters and NPCs to interact with, and it's clear that a lot of thought went into the art direction of this game. As an aside, for those who are curious about this sort of thing, the Mega Man series art books, called the complete works for each series, are actually available in English, and they're quite interesting reads too. Anyway, X in particular gets a new stylish suit of armor for this game, and I find the whole design really cool. Returning heroes Zero and Axel look solid, and new playable characters Spider, Steel Massimo, Marino, and Cinnamon all look fantastic in their own right. Scenes will play out either via text for not as important encounters, spoken scenes with characters standing in a looping idle animation for somewhat important encounters, or full-on cutscenes when the action needs to be kicked up a notch, and they all look great. And speaking of the voice work, this is pretty much the best cast that the Mega Man X series has ever had. All due respect, of course, to the new voice actors from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Tekken. It's just that when I think about voices for these characters, these are the ones that spring to mind. Namely, X is voiced by Mark Gatha, Zero by Lucas Gilbertson, and Axel by Jeffrey Watson, who would also reprise these roles in Mega Man X8. Spider is voiced by Jonathan Love, Massimo by Noah Umholtz, Marino by Carol Ann Day, and Cinnamon by Caitlin Medrick, among countless others who all do an excellent job bringing their characters to life, boss, NPCs, ally alike. Likewise, the soundtrack is just awesome. The music fits in with X's series penchant for rock motifs with tinges of techno interspersed throughout. I love the character themes in particular, like Marino's Pleasant Thief or Axel's It's Me. The sound effects are also great. You hear a lot of them, especially in combat, and it gives a real weight and oomph to the impact, doubled with a nice graphical touch with critical hits causing enemies or party members to reel from the blow. The gameplay is where Command Mission truly shines. On the overworld, you control X and, well, do things you might expect that you can do in an RPG. You have a convenient menu for menu-related things, like party formation, so you can bench Massimo and Spider as soon as better characters join. You have sub-tanks in lieu of traditional RPG healing items, which is a rather clever utilization of series conventions and makes the systems both distinct and more thematic. On the overworld, you can tap the button to dash, which is used both as a way of expediently traveling around the world, and as a way to break the crystal-like containers that serve as the game's treasure chests. This allows rapid-fire collection of many various goodies you'll find along your journey. Also interesting, there were some actual console variations between the GameCube and PS2 editions. Nintendo's little lunchbox could connect to a Game Boy Advance via the connector cable in order to find bonus tokens, which can be exchanged at a figurine kiosk for additional collectibles. Meanwhile, the PlayStation that had the best controller contained a demo for the first level of Mega Man X8. Once you enter a battle, your three leading heroes square off opposite the enemies, and a sliding bar at the bottom of the screen indicates turn order in real time. It'll adjust for status conditions and actions taken as they occur. You'll have a handy display at the top right showing your options. Here I'll be playing the GameCube version, which is the version I own. With sub-weapons acting as small additional attacks or utilities you can place on each hero, your basic attack and your action trigger, each unique to the hero. You can assign a menu command to the Z button too from your main menu as a quick little macro. Each character has life energy, LE, in place of HP, and weapon energy, WE, in lieu of MP. Weapon energy regenerates in some amount each turn, varying by character, and can be extended with certain items, and it's expended whenever you use your sub-weapons or action trigger, though you need a minimum of 50% to activate. Action triggers are character-specific, as said, like X's action trigger is Charge Shot, which attacks all enemies on the field, dealing proportional damage to how much weapon energy he expands into it. Actually, out of all of them, my personal favorite is Axel's, which is DNA Change. There, he assumes the form of a boss you defeated by putting in a certain preset button combination to build the DNA string, which is both very clever and thematic to the character. On top of all that, every character also has a Hyper Mode, a super form they can assume for a limited number of turns that bolsters their stats and improves their action trigger some way. Like Marino's Quicksilver, sending her speed stats so high to the point that almost every turn rotation becomes hers. This results in a dynamic combat system, with turns moving seamlessly between its participants, which is good, as the GameCube version actually has a higher encounter rate than the PS2 for reasons unknown to me. But more important, it never feels like it's a slog, even during times when the game could get difficult. Mechanically, the game is simple and elegant, every character having an attack stat and attack type. Because all attacks are melee or shot type, every character has 2 defense stats, protecting against 1 each. And lastly, they have speed. This works in a similar vein to later Breath of Fire titles, with weapons having both attack and defense values, but also weight values. They have to balance their weight against their speed, giving you a sense of customization and balance for however you want to build your character. Likewise, each character has a number of slots for force medals to be inserted. On top of that, force medals are also limited by an erosion rating, which is compared to their overall immunity. Immunity is a stat specific to the character that does go up as you level, but as long as immunity is equal to or greater than the collective force medals erosion, then you're safe. Of course, that will vary a bit by character. This is actually explained rather elegantly that excessive force medal exposure can actually cause symptoms akin to going Maverick, giving you incentive to balance your force medal usage on top of all the other ways you customize your party. Going over that immunity rating, however, can cause different status effects, damage over time, and other unpleasant side effects. Lastly, in terms of mechanics, the game uses a very simple rock, paper, scissors element system. Fire beats lightning, lightning beats ice beats fire, akin to some other Mega Man titles that share a similar set. Taken together, you have a game that could very well have been a Breath of Fire installment, but instead set in the Mega Man X universe, and it just feels so good to play it. If it sounds like I'm just gushing, it's because I am. The game's battles happen lightning fast. The sheer customization, even with a max party size of just 3, gives you a ton of room to make it whatever you want it to be. And the extremely cathartic / amazing Final Strike command, where your 3 heroes gang up on weak enemies with a barrage of missiles and melee assaults to mercilessly button mash them to death, was something that I didn't even know I wanted until I got it. Couple the above with clever puzzles, well-designed dungeons to explore, a bright, colorful cast of characters and bosses, and a brisk overall game speed, and you'll have an experience that has me coming back time and time again, all the while just wishing there was a New Game Plus mode or a direct sequel that followed in the same vein. Are there aspects I didn't like? Well, yes. For starters, the characters exist in predefined tiers. X, Zero, Axel, Marino, and Cinnamon are up and away superior to Spider and Massimo. Poor Steel Massimo. I actually really like him as a character, but he's useless mechanically. They give him a 150% weakness to all 3 elements, abysmal stats, weapons that only hit once, whereas Zero and Marino get multiple weapons that have multi-strike properties, and his character-specific force medal is meh. His hyper counter is just 3, the lowest in the game, and his action trigger is this enormously inefficient laser beam that Does about as much damage as throwing frozen peas and tissue paper at the enemies. Ugh, being Massimo is suffering. And you don't even get to keep Spider the entire game, so even if you like him, that's off the cards too. Pun intended. Oh, and some of the voice actors clearly weren't given very good direction for some of the cutscenes.
Keep trying, boys. But it's no use, I'm afraid. Come on, Zero. I know you want to beat me.
Don't worry, I'll beat you soon enough.
So some of the lines do come off as stiff or unnatural given context. But I don't even fault the voice cast for that. They didn't have the full game available to them either. However, this is mostly nitpicking, and honestly, since Marino and Cinnamon are wonderful and welcome new additions to any party, it's pretty easy to overlook that. And here's where I actually have some good news for a change. While Command Mission itself hasn't received a sequel or a re-release that it rightfully deserves, it hasn't been forgotten either. X's Command Mission armor showed up in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and the mobile title, MegaMan X Dive, is confirmed to be getting an English release sometime soon, and includes Steel Massimo, Marino, and Cinnamon as playable characters. It seems like Capcom in recent years has remembered just how beloved the X series truly is, and Command Mission may not be completely forgotten after all. Here's hoping they hear from the fans and consider the following. Command Mission 2, when? Because Mega Man X Command Mission was and remains an excellent RPG. The writing isn't Shakespeare, but it doesn't need to be. It's fun. The characters are wonderful, the gameplay is solid and never feels stale. The customization is divine, the sheer number of side distractions make it a joy for a completionist to see all the way down to the very last zenny. If you have a dusty old copy lying around or just a penchant for games that have faded from memory, it's worth picking it up and returning to Giga City one more time. This has been the Commander Snek. I thank you again for joining me here today. If you liked today's video, be sure to hit that like button to let me know as such. For more content like this every week, be sure to tap the subscribe and bell icons too. Leave a comment below with some of your favorite party formations and customization strategies. I'd be curious to know. And I have a bit of a special teaser. Next month is May, this channel's Snekiversary. So I'm going to do something special, a certain theme block for the entire merry month. I won't spill the beans on what that is just yet, but I will say it's thematically related to certain series of games I reviewed way back almost 1 year ago now. Join us over these next weeks to come for more obscure games and indie excellence, and I will see you there.